What do you think about when you hear the phrase, greatest book of all time? Personally for me, I think of a key moment in an interview between Lex Friedman and Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Is there a case to be made that Brothers Karamazov is the greatest book ever written?
Yeah, there's a case to be made for that. I don't know. Is it better than Crime and Punishment?
Yes, yeah.
You think so? Why do you? I'm not arguing with it. Why do you think that?
Well, every book is a person. Some of my best friends are inside that book.
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
But if a discussion between two of the smartest living people on this planet Earth today can't convince you, here's what dead smart people think. For instance, Albert Einstein wrote, Dostoevsky gives me more than any scientist. The Brothers Karamazov is the most wonderful book that I have ever laid my hands on. What? Friedrich Nietzsche called Dostoevsky, quote, the only psychologist from whom I have anything to learn. And that weirdo Freud declared, The Brothers Karamazov is the most magnificent novel ever written. Regardless of what you think about any of these individuals, if nearly every single one of the world's leading intellectuals, alive and deceased, some of whom are people who literally changed the world, have all independently corroborated the same attitude towards this book, all of them each declaring that The Brothers Karamazov is the greatest book ever written, then I think I'm left with no choice. In today's video, I'm going to be reading the greatest book ever written, aka The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. But before we go any further, I need to talk to you today about today's sponsor, Masterclass. You all know that I'm a big fan of Masterclass on this channel. Masterclass is a membership-based platform that gives you access to thousands. Guys, when I say thousands, I mean thousands of online lessons from the world's leading experts in any given field. The broad depth and diversity to the amount of courses that are available on Masterclass is unreal. They have a multitude of courses ranging in so many different topics, including arts and entertainment, business, community, government, style, design, food, home, lifestyle, music, science and technology, sports and gaming, wellness, and my personal favorite, writing. The breadth and depth to Masterclass is truly endless, priced at a value that you can't honestly beat anywhere else. I've been using Masterclass recently over the past month to get better at things that I consider hobbies. As a reader, I also like to dabble in writing. And so taking courses from living legends has been a game changer not only in my writing, but how I even just approach writing. From courses on how to hone your writing process and voice, to crafting compelling stories, writing vivid characters, world building, genre writing, and even how to edit your work and get it published. Masterclass has you covered in every single aspect you can possibly think of. And one of the best parts about Masterclass is that you can watch it from anywhere. Check out Masterclass today. Enjoy 15% off a Masterclass subscription when you sign up today using the link down below in the description. Once again, thank you so much to Masterclass for sponsoring today's video. Back to the greatest book ever written. But you know, here's the thing. This book has scared me to death as long as I can remember. I don't know if I can do it. Reading hard books is hard, obviously. But you don't know what kind of person you'll be on the other side. Time to find out, I guess. This is not my first rodeo with this book. In fact, if I had to put a number on it, I think this is my fourth attempt at this novel. I have been fascinated with this book ever since I found out about the poem known as The Grand Inquisitor. The basis of this book is that it is a murder mystery, and not only is it a murder mystery, it's a murder mystery set within a family. The patriarch of the family dies. You don't know if the murderer is one of his sons or not. Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov dies. At the very beginning of the story, we get a glimpse into his character and nature. He is a degenerate, he is debaucherous, he is licentious, he is any other $10 word you want to slap on him that makes him sound like an idiot. He is a vile, greedy, scummy person. He just so happens to have 3 sons from 2 different wives. Let me introduce you to our brothers. The eldest of which being Dmitri. Yes, he is nearly the spitting image of his father. He follows right in the path of his father, character-wise, nature-wise, and I think that's why they have so much beef between themselves. Dmitri is often depicted as being very passionate and very impulsive. The second-born son of Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov by his second wife is Ivonne. He's an intellectual, he's very rational, he's very skeptical, and then we get the final and third son, Alexei, also born from the same mother as Ivonne, so they are actual blood brothers instead of half-brothers like Dmitri. He's a very humble and sweet and devout person, but What's the drama? There is drama in this family. This is probably the most dysfunctional family in all of Russia. Here's the deal. The father, Fyodor Pavlovich, is a very rich man. According to Russian law, he is supposed to divide up his inheritance for his sons so that when the time comes of their coming of age, he gives them a portion of his wealth. Well, he's not going to do that. He does not want to give away his rubles. Issue at the beginning of the novel is that Dmitri has come back to get the inheritance that is rightfully owed him. Fyodor Pavlovich will not consent. The second brother, Ivonne, he's just showed up to town as well so that he can kind of be an intermediary between his elder brother and his father. He's trying to be there to be some stability and keep the peace, but we also think he's got ulterior motives. And so now I'm at the part where they are hashing it out at the monastery. Let's see what happens to these freaking people. Okay, freaking Fyodor Pavlovich. Boy, he doesn't shut up. He just rambles on and on as if he's always drunk. These are the ramblings of a man who is always sauced. I see why every other character, I guess besides his sons, well, his younger son, I see why every other character has the shortest amount of patience possible for this man. I've read the beginning of this book so many times. It's all second nature to me. I'm just getting back in the swing of things. But man, do I remember how much I loved the writing of this freaking novel. Yeah, bro, this family, oh my gosh. The drama is so thick, you could eat it with freaking utensils. I think I've made it finally farther than I ever have in any attempt of this book. I am currently 231 pages in. I've read so many pages, and yet I think it's only been 2 days in the story. The first day, the whole financial crisis issue and the inheritance crap at the monastery. There was a little snippet of that evening where you're introduced to the servants of Fyodor Dostoevsky and where he lives in this big old... Why do I keep saying Dostoevsky? His name is not that. His last name is Karamazov. I keep doing that. It's because he named one of the main characters of the story after himself. So there was a scene where Alyosha, or Alexei, and Ivonne are over at their father's. They're kind of talking. And wouldn't you know it, crazed Dmitri comes in. He's blitzed, okay? And he assaults his father, and then he's thrown out into the street. And now everything's kind of in disarray. We have a long ways to go. This book is humongous. My Wordsworth Classics copy version of this story is 870 pages on the nose, but the text is really small. So that kind of got me thinking, is this book normally close to 1,000 pages? Go figure, it is. This book is usually 1,072 pages. That's nothing new on this channel, I swear. But it comes in at a staggering 364,152 words. And I'm eating every single one of them up, baby, let me tell you. To think right now. I don't know. It's this book. I had to put it down. I'm just about to start the part that started the fascination with this book. I'm at the part where the Grand Inquisitor is about to be told. Ivonne and Alyosha, they've been having a discussion about God, about morality, about ethics, about faith and doubt. From just some of the conversations that characters have had in this story, this book is a profound exploration of human morality, faith, and the nature of good and evil. And you can see that already primarily through the relationships between these three Karamazov brothers. You know, like I said earlier, Dmitri is passionate and he's impulsive. He's a straight up hedonist. He does not care about anything but his own pleasure. Then there's Ivonne, who, like I said, is the intellectual of the family. He's the deep thinker. He's the rationalist, but yet he's also the skeptic. He's the one person in the story that really, truly personifies doubt. Doubt in the divine, doubt in the nature of God, doubt in the existence of God, foundationally a nihilist. And then there's Alyosha, who's the devout believer. And all three of them have been affected in some way or another by their morally corrupt father. And Ivonne and Alyosha have just been delving into, some philosophical and theological debates about the existence of God, the meaning of life, and the overall consequences of moral choices. And we're just about to get into the poem that Ivonne wrote called The Grand Inquisitor. This poem is the entire reason why I wanted to pick up this book in the first place. I'm both nervous and excited at the same time. I'm excited. Let's read it together, and I'll reconvene with you after I'm done. What is life? What is meaning? What the fetch did I just read? All right, we have to take a second here to talk about the Grand Inquisitor. At the time that I'm filming this segment of this video, I have now read that portion of the book 4 times. And I plan on reading it again tonight and probably every day for the foreseeable future. It is beyond special to me now. The Grand Inquisitor is a poem that is written by one of the main characters, Ivonne. It's one of the most stunning pieces of literature that I have read in my measly 28 years of living. I was left speechless the first time I read it. I was moved to tears the next 2 times that I read it. There's something new to be gained every single time you read it. So, what is the Grand Inquisitor? The Grand Inquisitor is the story of 16th century Seville, Spain, during the time of the Spanish Inquisition. The story opens with a procession of people marching to the town's cathedral. In the midst of this, Jesus himself reappears. He revisits humanity. And though people don't know him because he's a stranger, they recognize him. They recognize who he truly is. And of course, they're saying, is it he? Is it he? Is it really him? And he performs miracles. And this is all done in the sight of the Cardinal of Seville, the Grand Inquisitor himself. Now, you would think the most powerful ecclesiastical authority would bow down to the God that he worships, standing before him, performing miracles in human flesh. You would think that. But oh no, instead, this lunatic commands his holy guard to arrest him and throw him in prison. Later on in the poem, the Grand Inquisitor visits Jesus in his jail cell. He proceeds to rail Jesus with accusation upon accusation upon accusation. And I won't go into the details, but the Grand Inquisitor alone is why Dostoevsky is so brilliant. I saw his brilliance when I read Crime and Punishment earlier this year, but this poem takes the cake. Not only did he succeed in making the greatest argument for Christ, he makes the greatest argument for Christ by making the greatest argument against Christ. Does that make sense? By you're trying to refute it, you proved it. And that is the brilliance of Dostoevsky. The most striking thing about this entire poem is that Jesus doesn't even say a word. He doesn't even say a word to this man who keeps threatening him with burning at a stake. And his silence speaks louder than all of the words of the Grand Inquisitor combined. I've blabbed long enough. Let's get back to the vlog. Over 50%. Over 50%. The main crux of the plot has just happened. The murder. Patricide has happened. Let's see our suspects. The only people that are suspected of killing... Oh wait, what the heck? Have I even told you who died? This is something that's revealed to you kind of at the beginning. Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, the father. He was murdered. Who are our suspects? The first is, of course, Dmitri. First of all, he's been feuding with his father over his inheritance rights. He's in debt. And it just so happens that father and son are chasing after the affections of the same woman. So he's a prime time suspect. The next is Ivonne. Now, Ivonne doesn't seem to have any skin in the game, but he has said to Alyosha on occasion that he hates their father. He does not like him. He does not trust him. With the whole inheritance nonsense, he just doesn't see the point. But we don't know if Ivonne has secret motives here or not. And then, of course, there is Alyosha, which I really don't see how he's a suspect. The only reason I would see him being a suspect is because, well, he has the same last name as his debaucherous father. The law enforcement have just taken who they believe killed Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov. They've taken him into custody. Who it is, I'm not going to say because I don't want to ruin the rest of this novel. I have so much left in this story. I am on book 9, page 499. Rant time. Okay, not rant, rave time. Currently, I'm right in the middle of the murder trial. Ivan's done his thing, prosecutors have done their thing, the whole town is there, like everything's going down. But the thing that I cannot shake from my mind is Yvonne's nightmare. Did I say Ivan earlier? Ivonne? My brain reads Ivan, but I know it's Ivonne. This is how it works. Yvonne's nightmare of the devil. Essentially. The whole structure of that chapter was so trippy. I read it almost as much as I have The Grand Inquisitor up to this point, because some of these chapters I just go back and reread immediately, and it gets creepier and more profound each time that I read it. Essentially, all of the stress surrounding Dmitri's trial, and of course, all of the elements surrounding the murder of his father, Fyodor Pavlovich, and of course, his own guilt, not necessarily with the murder, because as far as we can tell, he's been in no way involved. But there's this sense of guilt that he's feeling, and all of this has come to a point that it's given him something that the doctor in town calls brain fever. And it's so bad, like he's warned, if you do not get this resolved, it could obviously lead to something worse, but you will experience hallucinations. But Ivonne, being the stubborn mule that he is of a character, he says, nah, I'm good. Well, then he goes up to his apartment. He sees a stranger sitting in a chair, but he recognizes him. He then has a conversation. They speak as if they've known each other a while. We never learn this stranger's name until he confesses that he is the devil, essentially. I mean, there's so much symbolism to it. There's so much depth. But as far as I've been able to wrap my brain around it, this gentleman, as he's referred to in the chapter, is in some way a projection of Yvonne's ideas. He's like the embodiment, the encapsulation of everything that Ivonne believes, and yet Ivonne is terrified of this stranger. And over the course of their conversation, they speak on this anecdote that really is Dostoevsky painting a picture of an existential crisis and dilemma. They talk about this who is told that he needs to walk a quadrillion kilometers in darkness, and once he reaches the end, the gates of paradise will open. But instead, the man doesn't walk, he just lies down. But in terms of the human experience just existing, it poses the question, should one walk? Or, in some sense, continue on with life, or just lie down and opt out for apathy? But again, Ivonne, in his stubbornness, chooses to ignore this, and he still tries to convince himself that the devil is not real. The overall thing that I took away from this chapter was, the philosophy is so heavy, man. It kind of reminds me of Ayn Rand when I read Atlas Shrugged early in the year, is that Ivonne is someone who values common sense and facts above all else. Meanwhile, he's also mocking these ideas in his very person. This character of the devil, or this gentleman, almost resembles the Grand Inquisitor in a way, because they both claim that they have a desire to do good, yet they're doing evil. But at the center of this entire chapter, and honestly, I think it's one of the central themes of this entire book, if humanity is able to come to some social commitment to one another, social unity, then in their mind, there would be no need for God. Yet, the devil, or the gentleman, claims that in a world in which everybody has their own moral compass, their own moral code, each human being essentially becomes their own God, which means there would be no longer any singular truth in the universe. Everything would become subjective. And yet again, this is not the first character to come to this conclusion, but if there is no God, then to quote the book, everything is permitted. There is no moral wrong, there is no moral right, everything is lawful, everything is okay. And that's what makes this book so profound found whoever murdered Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov. They believed the same thing, that if there is no right or wrong, if all things are permitted, then it's okay if I kill this scum of the earth who's denying his children their inheritance, who's going around smucking up the earth with his sin, who's just being a terrible, rotten human being. This is just an absolutely life-changing book. The plot is still very much intact. I really have not given away anything. At least I hope. I've tried to really talk about the ideas more than the plot. But what do we have? I'm on page 760, so there's 90 pages left. Let's see how it ends. I love mankind, he said, but I find to my amazement that the more I love mankind as a whole, the less I love man in particular. The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. The awful thing is that beauty is mysterious as well as terrible. God and the devil are fighting there, and the battlefield is the heart of man. This is my last message to you. In sorrow, seek happiness. Just a few of the many words from this incredible, life-changing novel. Holy crap, what was that ending? The Brothers Karamazov. I set out with this video to see if this book truly was the greatest book of all time. And I'm walking away from this experience utterly convinced that it is. There's nothing that I could say that hasn't already been said about this book. There's nothing that I could say that has already been said about Dostoevsky himself. This book was everything and more. But this book was at the top of a list that I released on this YouTube channel back in April called, called 10 Difficult Books I Want to Read Because I'm Insane. This book was at the top of that list. Of all the books that I could conceive of and think about that were difficult and intimidating and scary books, this was at the top of the heap. And now that it's finally under my belt, I don't know what the heck I was so scared of. You don't need to be an intellectual to get this book. There's nothing, I think, in the foreseeable future that would knock this book off of its pedestal. You know what's crazy? A few videos ago, I read my new favorite book of all time, The Count of Monte Cristo. It shocks me that I could do it again so soon. This is now my favorite book of all time. Fyodor Dostoevsky he reaches into the human soul and he plucks you out and he shows you the truth. He does it in some of the most masterful arguments. The Grand Inquisitor alone is what makes this book the best and greatest thing to have ever been penned by a human hand. Read this book. Okay, freaking stop listening to me, stop watching this video and read this book. Well, don't stop watching quite yet because I need to remind you of the sponsor that you skipped at the beginning of this video. Life will never be the same. Life will never be the same. Folks, thank you so much. And thank you so much again to today's sponsor. Don't you dare click off the video. Thank you again to today's sponsor, Masterclass. Check out Masterclass today and turn your professional aspirations into achievements. Click the link down below in the description to start today for 15% off. Hurry up, don't wait, scan this QR code. Love you all. I will see you all in the next one.